From grocery store aisles to the candy counter, colorful food on shelves have been appealing to kids of all ages for decades.
They want to eat petroleum. They ought to add it themselves at home. But they shouldn't be feeding it to the rest of us.
But for anyone trying to avoid colorful cereals and gummy bears without many healthy alternatives, they sometimes have no choice. But that's about to change. Health and Human Services Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. making a promise that he would crack down on colorful additives in food.
If your cereal glows with colors that pop on Instagram, you might be eating what Europe refuses to sell. You're in the right place. We're exposing the U.S. innocent until proven guilty rule that keeps additives like Red 40, Yellow 5, BHA, and BHT on shelves while Europe pulls them at the first serious warning. Stay with me. We'll trace how industry lobbying turned delays, like the long wait to restrict trans fats, into a business model, and then show you the exact ingredients to flag on labels so you can shop like a precautionary pro without spending more. Quick favor before we move on. If you appreciate this content, consider giving this video a like and subscribing to the channel. Believe it or not, more than 92% of viewers haven't subscribed yet. It's free and only takes a second, but it means the world to us. So did you subscribe already? Great! Thank you so much for your support. Now back to the video. Why does the same cereal box glow like a neon sign in the US and look calmer overseas? That isn't an accident. It tells you who takes the risk.
Artificial dyes are all over American foods.
Nowadays, they're usually derived from petroleum.
Its use in the US has only grown over the last few decades.
Now, for the first time, the FDA is banning red number 3 in food products across the US. But what would it take to fully remove these artificial colors that are all over American food?
In one system, the manufacturer hedges early. In the other, you hold the bag until harm is proven to a courtroom standard. Let's start with the playbooks. Europe runs on a precautionary principle. If a credible risk shows up, they pull or restrict first and sort the nuance later. The US flips that. Here, regulators want clear, causal harm before they act. It's like two coaches calling the same game with opposite rules. One benches a player on the first limp, the other waits for a torn ligament. That timing flips incentives. In the US, an additive can enter, scale, and sit in pantries while the science inches forward. In Europe, the bar to enter is higher, so fewer chemicals get that head start. This isn't just a science debate. It's power. Who gets to say not yet, and who has to prove too late? Take the dyes that make snacks glow. Red 40 and Yellow 5 are staples in US treats. Europe forces warnings and tight controls, so brands tone the colors down or swap them out. Same mascot on the box. Same font. Different guts. You might toss both versions into your cart and never know one uses a quieter recipe. Under the hood, the US has a tool called GRA, generally recognized as safe. Here's how that plays out. Companies can self-affirm an ingredient as GRA using their experts and move ahead, sometimes with limited FDA review. Legacy additives stay in rotation because the system leans on recognized as safe rather than retested over time. Europe takes a hazard-based screen. If an ingredient shows a plausible risk, even without a smoking gun in humans, it hits a wall or gets fenced in. Now preservatives.
The FDA committee considered warning labels, but concluded that more research was needed. Around 10 years ago, a bunch of food giants did agree to remove synthetic food dyes from cereals and snacks.
California recently issued a sweeping ban on artificial food dyes in public school snacks. In 1990, new research showed that some of the most popular red dyes had links to cancer. That prompted the FDA to ban red number 3 in cosmetics. The agency cannot condone a dye that has links to cancer. But red number 3 is everywhere. One analysis shows that about a quarter of all baking decorations and dessert toppings have the dye in it.
Across Europe and the Middle East, red color was derived from madder, a plant from the coffee family.
BHA and BHT help shelf life and texture. The EU curbs them and uses tighter limits. The US lets them sit across many categories. That's why a snack here can taste day one fresh after a long ride in a warehouse. Across the Atlantic, you'll see fewer long-haul preservatives and, yes, faster staling. Not a moral story, just different rules, different outcomes. Then there's potassium bromate, a dough strengthener that makes bread springy and white. Europe bans it and has for a long time. It's flagged as a possible carcinogen, so it doesn't pass the early warning test there. The US still allows it. Some American brands quietly reformulate to avoid it, which shows it's not essential. But without a hard stop, it sticks around. You can see the play in real products. Major brands build two versions to match the law in each market. The European mix leans on natural colors or different binders. The US version often keeps the classic chemical stack because it can. Not because the better recipe is impossible here, but because the pressure isn't the same. And industry knows the gap well. Legal teams argue acceptable risk. Lobbyists warn of higher prices and lost jobs if recipes change. The revolving door between regulators and industry adds more drag. We've watched how delays pile up. Trans fats are the case study everyone cites for a reason. The slow grind kept a known problem on shelves far longer than it needed to be. Here's the real kicker. In the US, a product often stays legal not because it's proven safe, but because harm isn't yet proven to a high bar. That's a key difference. The risk meter sits in your cart until a regulator tips it back.
How could these things possibly be harmful to your health or harmful to your children's health? See the beautiful, colorful boxes of fruit juice in the supermarket, and they have big words on the front like organic, non-GMO, all natural, no sugar added. And we all know that there's too much fructose in that. They actually magnify the amount of fructose versus glucose to come up with high fructose corn syrup made from corn.
So what does that mean for your cereal, your bread, your kids' snacks? If the label looks loud, the recipe probably follows suit. Dyes that sell fun, preservatives that hold crunch, boosters that fluff dough. You can avoid a lot of it by reading the fine print, and more brands are starting to offer cleaner swaps when shoppers ask for them. Now let's move on to the blueprint. We're going to walk the play-by-play of how lobbying stretched the trans fat timeline and what that delay tells you about the additives sitting in your pantry today. Here's the real kicker. If you wait for Washington, you carry the risk window. Shop like Europe and you shrink it. Read the back, not the front. Scan for red 40, yellow 5, BHA, BHT, and potassium bromate. Leave the loud stuff on the shelf. You don't need a fat wallet to do this. Grab store brands that brag no artificial colors. Pick breads without bromate, and choose snacks with short lists. The know-how exists. Companies use it abroad. If this gave you something to chew on, hit like, subscribe, and share it with someone. Next, we'll test budget swaps that dodge these additives without hiking your bill.